So I don't know if you heard, but it's December. It's crazy, right? I don't even know how that's possible, but 2020 is almost over, you guys. We almost made it. We're almost there. I just want to give a big round of applause for all of us. So as I was just staring at my calendar, just in complete awe that it's actually finally December, I realized that now is about the time that I like to do my 2020 roundup. Today, we're just gonna be focusing on makeup. I will have my skincare and hair care favorites in the lifestyle roundup video that I have planned. Almost forgot to mention, I am doing a little giveaway in today's video. I'm giving away a box of makeup. I will actually be posting a picture of the products that I'm going to be giving away on Instagram if you want to see, at Jamie Paige Beauty. And if you want to enter the giveaway, all the details will be in the description box down below. I always like doing giveaways kind of at the end of the year in these videos, so I'll probably be doing other ones in the following roundups to come, so stay tuned. So I pulled the most products for the base category, and I really do feel like 2020 was the year where I truly perfected my foundation routine, and I found foundations and just base products, that includes concealers too, and even powders, that just work perfectly for my skin with zero compromises, and that is just such a beautiful thing. I've been waiting a long time for this moment. And so I have 6 foundations here that I cannot get enough of. So the first one that I want to talk about, I feel like this is definitely the most expected foundation for me to talk about, and it is the Rare Beauty foundation. So this is a product that really caught me by surprise. I had zero expectations going into it. I really didn't think that this would be something that would be so mind-blowing for me, but it really has become probably my most used foundation of the year. If you're just stumbling upon this video and you're not familiar with the types of foundations that I normally like or my skin type, I do have dry skin and I do prefer foundations that give more of like a light to medium coverage and then just make the skin look like skin. I don't like something too matte or too heavy or too makeup. I really like to keep things really lightweight, but I still do like coverage. Like I like a good medium coverage, and this guy really just checks all of the boxes for me. It's very, very thin and lightweight, so when you apply this to your face, it never feels heavy, and even though it is super thin in texture, it still has amazing coverage. Like I can get a medium to full coverage with this easily, or I can actually shear it out if I am using like a sponge. Secondly, it lasts really, really well on the skin. I'm able to wear this at the beginning of the day, and by the end of the day, it still looks just as good as when I first applied it. For a lot of us, I'm sure, and especially for me, longevity has been really important for me, especially when it comes to my base products, because we are obviously wearing masks, and I do want to be sure that my foundation transfers as little as possible. And so I have been looking for foundations that don't slip off of my face and that still look good when I take my mask off. So I would say my second favorite foundation discovery of 2020 is the Oma Beauty Say What Weightless Soft Matte Hydrating Foundation. I do actually find, now that I'm thinking of it, that these two are pretty similar. They do both have very similar consistencies to them. They're both very thin in texture but still give really great coverage, and they do also have a very similar finish as well. It is called a soft matte hydrating foundation, which is another perfect way to describe the Rare Beauty foundation, in that it kind of gives just a nice natural finish. It's not too matte, but it's also not too glowy. It just looks like skin, and this gives the exact same effect. The one difference that I do find between the Oma foundation and the Rare Beauty one is I do feel like this is slightly more buildable. Like I feel like I can get a very, 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 very full coverage with this product, whereas with the Rare Beauty one, I feel like it caps out at a certain point. This, I feel like I can really blank out my face, but again, because it's that really nice thin texture, it still just doesn't look heavy on the skin, and it also lasts beautifully. So that's all I really got to say about this. It's just a really fantastic product, and I'm really happy that I discovered it this year. Next, we have the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. This is a foundation that I like to go to on the days where I don't really want a ton of coverage. I kind of just want to even things out, and I want to maybe add a little bit of life to my skin, because this does add a nice glow to my face. So if I'm just running errands for the day, or if I'm just coming to my office and I don't really want like a full-on face, I just pop this on, and it really is just perfect for those types of days. Okay, the next 3 foundations I'm going to mention in the same breath, because I do feel like they are all kind of the same version of the same thing. I do feel like they're all very, very comparable to one another. We have the Makeup Forever Reboot. the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self Refreshing, and then the Milani Screen Queen Natural Finish Foundation. So I wouldn't really say that these were my most worn foundations of 2020 because I feel like for day to day, I really went towards the Laura Mercier and the Rare Beauty one the most. But on the days that I did want more of a medium to full coverage, maybe on the days that I'm filming, these were the foundations that I often went to. Just to keep it really nice and simple, these three foundations give a great medium to full coverage, but they will always look fresh throughout the day. And especially with the Synchro Skin and the Reboot, that's what they're marketed as. They're marketed as long wearing foundations that will pretty much always look fresh and hydrated and just good on the skin for the entire day. And I gotta say that they really do. Circling back to the Milani Screen Queen, this has definitely been my favorite drugstore foundation of the year. And I do feel like this is a pretty good dupe, I would say, to these two guys. It's a very similar foundation, honestly. So those are all of my favorite foundations of 2020. Before we jump into the 5 concealers that I have here, let's chat about a powder. So there has been a couple powders throughout the year that I just go back to time and time again, but I didn't want to talk about the same powders that I talk about all the time. I really wanted to mention the one powder that I believe is really my best powder discovery of 2020, and that is the Pat McGrath Skin Finish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. It's such a long name. So I actually have 2 shades here, medium and light. Light is almost like a white powder, and then medium is pretty much exactly my skin tone. The tint to these are very sheer. I mean, I use the white one, even though I would normally never go towards a white powder because I just would think it would be way too light for me, but I actually really like this for underneath my eyes because I do feel like it gives a nice, very subtle brightening effect. But besides the color of these powders, the reason why I love them so much and the reason why I've been using them so consistently throughout the year is because of the texture. I would say this is probably the most creamy and buttery soft, finely milled powder I have ever tried. I really even feel like this beats Hourglass, which is saying a lot. And this texture for a setting powder is perfection, you guys, especially if you have dry skin, especially if you don't like the look of powder on your skin. I say it all the time, I want my powder to just set my face and disappear like it's not even there, and this is the epitome of that. This will set your face. It is not going to look powdery. It's not going to look heavy. It's not going to attach to dry patches. And even better, it blurs the skin and it makes your skin just look so extra smooth. Now this is specifically made for the under eyes, and so the texture of the powder makes a lot of sense, especially for the under eye area, because you don't want a super heavy powder for underneath your eyes because you don't want it to settle in the little lines that you have there. You want it to look really nice and smooth, so it works perfectly for the under eye area. I, however, use it throughout my entire face, which you can totally do. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't. The only downside to using this on your entire face is that this is a pretty small compact because it is technically just meant for your under eyes. And so you're gonna go through it pretty quickly, and it is obviously Pat McGrath, so it is pricey. I tried this recently with my mom in a video that you guys will be seeing very soon, and she was obsessed with it. She bought it right after the video because she just loved the way it made her skin look. And if you think I'm picky with powder, my mom is 10 times more picky with powder, and she absolutely adored this. So this is definitely up there as far as one of the best powders I've tried. Okay, I lied. I have one more product to talk about before jumping into the concealer, and it is a priming product. Totally forgot to talk about this at the beginning, but there is actually only one priming product that I wanted to include in this video, and it is the Glossier Future Dew Oil Serum Hybrid. This is probably one of my favorite hydrating glowy primers. So this is called an oil serum hybrid, and when you see the texture of this, you'll really understand why, because it's thick like a serum but very hydrating like an oil, and it just melts into the skin like a skincare product would. This is actually considered to be a skincare product. However, I don't use this in my skincare routine ever. I only use this in my makeup routine as a base for when I want a little bit more of like a hydrating glowy base to my foundation. I am somebody who believes that your skincare moisturizer is 90% of the time good enough to use as your makeup primer, and you don't necessarily need anything else, because I always believe that just really well prepped, hydrated skin is the key to amazing foundation. However, I do think that the Glossier Future Dew was like a step above a typical moisturizer because it still gives you that really nice hydration, but it also gives you that little bit of extra slip to your skin, and it also gives you a little bit of that extra glow as well. I did apply this as my base today, and as I was applying it, a thought came to my head that this was actually somewhat similar to the Hourglass number 28 primer serum, but a less intense, more skincare version of that product, and also a lot less expensive. Also, if you have a foundation that you find is just a little bit too dry or matte on you and you want to kind of glow it up a little bit, using this as a base is a great way to kind of shift a foundation that is a little bit too dry. And my last point is that it also does not make your skin feel greasy or oily or super heavy, which sometimes some oils can do. Like I said, it really just sinks in and it just leaves that really nice hydrated glowy base for your makeup to sit on. So this has definitely been my favorite primer of 2020. All right, so now let's move on to concealers. Starting off first, I spoke about the Rare Beauty foundation. Of course, I also had to talk about the Rare Beauty concealer. It has a lot of the same qualities as the foundation. It has amazing coverage, it's lightweight, it doesn't settle, it lasts really well, and it just brightens and looks amazing underneath the eyes. Like, what more can you ask for? Another one of my favorite full coverage, long wearing, but still really nice and hydrating and natural looking concealers has been the Dior Forever Skin Correct. This is definitely a little bit more full on compared to the Rare Beauty. It has more coverage and it is also a creamier texture, but I do find this to be actually a little bit more hydrating compared to the Rare Beauty one, but it's another just really great medium to full, and it lasts really well as well. So what more can I possibly say? It's just been really great. And then I have these two guys for the days that I do want a little bit less coverage: the Josie Maran Vibrancy Argan Oil Full Coverage Concealer Fluid and the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Hydrating Concealer. So the Josie Maran Vibrancy is, I mean, it is called the Full Coverage Concealer. I wouldn't consider this full coverage. I would consider this more of a light medium coverage, like not light, but a light medium. This though is probably one of the most flattering concealers that I've tried. It is so hydrating underneath the eye. So if you're ever having like a bad dry under eye day, which I often do, this really just works so well in not clinging to any of those dry patches and just making your under eyes look hydrated and smooth and also covered. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh Hydrating Concealer is probably one of the sheerest concealers that I have in my collection. It's very, very, very sheer. So I don't really like to wear this on days that I want coverage. I like to wear these on the days that I don't really need a lot of coverage, that I kind of just want a little something just to feel covered in my under eye region, but it doesn't have to be too intense. Basically, I like to wear this with my tinted moisturizers. This also has a really pretty glow to it, so it kind of gives your under eyes that really nice fresh appearance, which I love. So this has definitely been my favorite for like my no makeup days. Okay, so that is it for all of the base products. So now let's move on to the blush, bronzer, and highlighter. So starting off first with blushes. Now I actually only have creams and liquids here to show you. I don't have any powder blushes that were like my ultimate favorite this year. I was going through my collection. There was just nothing that really stood out to me, but creams and liquids, I mean, you know me. You know how much I love me my creams and liquids. So of course I had to choose 4. So first things first, of course, we have the Cosmetics Serum Blushes. I feel like this has been a running favorite of mine for a couple years now. This is one of my favorite blushes for the days that I kind of just want a nice wash of color with a lot of glow to my cheeks. So this is basically like a skincare product and a blush came together and had a baby, and it was this little guy right over here, and they named it Serum Blush. So because it has that oily serum texture, when it applies to the cheeks, it gives the most gorgeous, stunning glow. Like when I wear this product, I don't go in with a highlighter because my cheeks look definitely glowy enough with just that. And I find, especially on the days that my skin is extra dry, wearing something like this just feels so nice and almost nourishing. And you wouldn't expect a blush to ever feel nourishing, but this one truly does. This color over here, Soft Amethyst, is actually one of my newer favorites. It's a really beautiful plum. It looks a little bit deep in the little bottle, but you are able to sheer it out or build it up depending on what kind of look you want. So I just applied a tiny little amount and really blended it out, and you can see it just gives a really nice wash of color, and you see that glow? That's what I'm talking about. Now, I don't really want to say that this is an exact dupe, but it's very similar. So I discovered the rebranded Quo brand this year. So if you don't know what Quo is, it's a Canadian drugstore brand. So unfortunately, if you're not from Canada, you can't get Quo, which honestly kind of sucks because they have some really amazing products. Like a lot of the Quo products that I discovered this year, I fell in love with. And this was probably one of the top ones that I fell in love with. It is the Quo Beauty Dewy Cheek Tint. I mean, does it sound a little bit familiar? So as you can see, it's a similar kind of style of bottle. You have a nice little dropper here. There it is on the back of my hand. You blend it out just like you would with the M Cosmetics one, and it gives you the same kind of wash of color with a really beautiful glow. They're basically dupes for one another. They really are. So there's really not much more for me to say about it because everything that I said about the M Cosmetics one pretty much applies to this as well. This color is also my favorite. It's like this beautiful orangey coral in the shade Crushing. It's gorgeous. So I'll just leave that there for you to digest. Okay, 2 cream blushes that I've been loving this year have been the Tower 28 Beach Please and the Fenty Cheeks Out. Now, even though these are both cream blushes and actually both pretty similar colors, this one over here is Strawberry Drip, and then from the Tower 28, it's Happy Hour. Both of these have 2 very different formulas. The Fenty formula definitely does have a little bit more staying power, I would say. When you blend it out on your cheek, it almost, I don't want to say it dries down to a powdery finish because it doesn't, but it does kind of stick to the cheeks a little bit more. So when I do want more of a long wearing blush look, then I've been going towards this guy. But when I want something that's really glossy and glowy and almost wet looking on the cheeks with some nice pigment, the Tower 28 creams have been stunning. These are incredibly pigmented, so you can definitely get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of color here. I mean, that was just a little bit, and you could even build it up and get something really, really bright. And similar to the M Cosmetics serum blushes, this also gives a gorgeous wet look to the cheeks. So if you want something really nice and glowy, these are amazing. Okay, so that's it for my blushes. So now let's move on to bronzers. I only have 2 here, which is shocking. So you guys know how much I love cream bronzers, and there's definitely been a couple that I've been cycling between throughout the year, but the one that I constantly go back to has been the Fenty Beauty cream bronzer in the shade Butter Biscuit. This has absolutely been my most used cream bronzer this year. I feel like Fenty just really knocked it out of the park with this one. This is one of those cream bronzers that just applies to the skin and it just works. You barely need to even put in effort for this to just blend and mesh and look gorgeous on your skin, and that's why I really love it, especially for every day. I don't really want to sit there like buffing out a difficult cream bronzer. I want something that's just gonna melt into the skin and just make me look really nice and bronze. That's all I'm asking for. And this gives it to me. This isn't so pigmented where if you stamp on a little bit too much, you have to like really work at blending it out. It's just pigmented enough that you can never really over apply it. Like even when I like dig into this with my brush haphazardly and I go in to apply it to my face, I never apply too much bronzer. It just always blends perfectly, and that's why I love it. It's just so easy to use, always gives me the perfect color, the perfect look. It's just amazing. As for powder bronzers, I so badly wanted to mention my new Alia powder bronzer that I've been loving, but I literally discovered that 2 weeks ago, so that would be cheating. So instead, I wanted to talk about my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer in Radiant Bronze Light. This is definitely by far my favorite bronzer. This is another one that's been long-standing for a long time for me. It's one of my favorite, more glowy bronzers that I have in my collection. I'm very, very picky when it comes to glowy bronzers because I never really want something that's going to look sparkly, and I also don't want something that's going to look completely unnatural. This one, however, just really hits it on the head, hits it on the nose, hits on the nail, whatever the saying is. It gets it right because this has glow but with no shimmer in it, and it also has just the perfect amount of warmth for my skin tone. As I've said a million times regarding the Hourglass powders, they're mature powders, so they're never gonna look over the top or too much. They're gonna just look kind of like they're a part of the skin. Okay, hold on to your seats, everybody, because I'm mentioning not 1, but 2 powder highlighters. I know, guys, 2020 really messed me up. I don't even have a cream or liquid highlighter to talk about. If you know me at all, you know that I didn't swear off powder highlighters, that's ridiculous, but I really stopped using them for a significant period of time because I just so much more prefer normally the way cream and liquids look on the skin. They just look a little bit more like they're a part of the skin and not just sitting on top of them. And there's a ton of cream and liquids that I love. However, I really needed to mention these 2 powder highlighters because these are powders that look just as creamy as creams. So they give you the same kind of glossy, gorgeous look that creams give the skin, but in a powder format. So starting off first with the Now Blessed Skin Glazing Glass Skin Finish Glow Powder in the shade Ozone. I have a trick for you. If you want to know if a powder highlighter is going to give you that like glossy glow, I find personally a really good way to see if that's going to be the case is if there's very, very, very little powder kickback. And when I touch this, it's almost like it's like a brick. There's barely any powder that kicks back. And so the result of that is just a very, very smooth powder. And oh my God, when you buff this into the skin, look at this. See this right here? Look at that gorgeous glossy glow. It gives you that glossiness, but it's not over the top, but it's also not too little. Like it's there, you see it. Another trick that I have for powder highlighters, if you want it to look more like a cream or just like it's really a part of the skin, is to really buff it into the skin when you apply it. So you don't just like swipe it on, but you swirl it on with your brush. And again, that's going to give you this beautiful in the skin glossy look. And oh my God, these are so underrated and so damn good. Another discovery of mine this year has been this Vesca Stargaze Luminous Glow Highlighter in the shade Moonlight. This is actually what I'm wearing on my cheeks right now, so you can see what it looks like. Now the texture between these two are actually very different. I do find that this has more of like a creamy texture, whereas the Nabla one has more of like a it doesn't even really have a texture because it's so stiff in formula. But this definitely has a little bit more creaminess to it. But because of that creaminess, again, it just meshes into the skin in the most gorgeous, flattering, glossy way. Vesca is a hugely underrated brand. I also absolutely love their bronzer. Their Santorini bronzer is another one of my go-tos. I actually should have mentioned that today. I have it right here. It's actually probably my most used matte powder bronzer. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I fully should have mentioned it in today's video. I think I just totally forgot. So I'm just gonna plug it in right here, but this is a really great, very easy to work with matte bronzer. I actually also love the tone of this. It works really well for both warming up my skin and like slightly shaping it as well. It's not like too warm or too cool. It just lands right in the middle. They also have an incredible shade range. So if you find it difficult to find a bronzer that's dark enough for you, check out Vesca. They have such good shades. Okay, let's move on now to eyes. I have some mascaras here. This is a little bit excessive, especially for mascaras, but I really have been circling between all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these mascaras throughout the year. Like there's not just one that I've been using, it's been all 5. So starting off first with an unexpected favorite. This is the Dior Show Iconic Over Curl Mascara. So this is actually what I'm wearing on my lashes right now, but this is actually, now that I'm thinking of it, somewhat similar to the Benefit Roller Lash, which is another one of my favorites because both of these do such an amazing job at curling my lashes. These are the only 2 mascaras that I have that actually do that for me, that I don't have to go in with the lash curler to get my lashes to look super lifted. The Dior Over Curl is a much thicker wand, and it also is natural bristles. And then the Benefit one is definitely a lot slimmer, a little bit sleeker, and it's plastic bristles. But they have both the same curved shape to it, which is what really helps to lift the lashes. So I do find that the Benefit one does a really good job of defining and separating, whereas the Dior one does a really good job of giving me that volume, like major volume, because it's such a thick wand. So then I have my 2 favorite Tube mascaras. I rediscovered Tube mascaras this year, and I'm so happy that I did because they have definitely made my everyday removal routine so much quicker. If you don't know what a Tube mascara is, it's basically a mascara that comes off with just water. So instead of like scrubbing your eyes and just getting raccoon eyes at the end of the day when you're taking your makeup off, you just take a little bit of water, you rub your eyes gently, and you go like this, and the mascara just comes off in clumps in a second. And it's so satisfying, it's so easy, and it really is worth getting a Tube mascara just for the ease of removal. I love it. So I have 2 here that I have been really liking, the Hourglass Unlocked Instant Extensions Mascara and then the M Cosmetics Pick Me Up. They both actually have very similar wands. They're both like short plastic bristles that are very spiky, but the Hourglass one is a little bit longer and kind of skinnier. I do find that the Hourglass one gives me a little bit more volume and length, whereas the M Cosmetics one is like my go-to everyday mascara. It doesn't give me major volume or major length or major curl, but it kind of gives me just enough of everything where it makes my lashes look really nice and defined and really pretty and never ever clumpy. And so this has been my go-to for day to day. And then the Hourglass one I use when I do want a little bit more drama, but I still want the tubing effect. So then we have the Ilia Limitless. I'm still going through the stock that I bought. I think it was last year when I thought that they were discontinuing this. I bought like 10 of them because I could not imagine not having this in my collection, but it turns out they weren't discontinuing it. They were just repackaging, and that's why it was sold out everywhere. Anyways, long story short, this has been a mascara that I've consistently used for probably about 2 years now. It is such an interesting and somewhat unique wand. It has two different sides to it. There's one side to it that basically looks like a comb, and it does a really good job in literally combing out and separating your lashes. And then it has the other side, which just does a really good job in getting at the base and giving you nice volume. And I feel like this is just a really great all around mascara that gives you length, it gives you volume, it gives you everything you need. Okay, moving on now to brow products. I have two here that I have been loving this year. This really was the year for me of just not doing my brows or doing as little as possible when it comes to my brows. I basically stopped filling in my brows and have been exclusively just using brow gel, especially over the last like 6 months or so. This over here is probably like my top two favorite discoveries of 2020. This is the M Cosmetics brow cream, and I'm gonna be honest, when I first tried this, I hated this product because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why the wand was so tiny. I thought that this was just going to be a brow gel that you use to set your brows, and I hated that it was so tiny because it took so long for me to like swipe it through my brows. And also when I first tried this, I tried the clear one, which just really isn't the same thing. You need to get the tinted one because that is really where the magic lies in this product. But then I saw that Julie Adams would like constantly rave about this, so I took it back out of my collection. I tried it again, and wow, am I happy that I did, because I have not been able to live without it since. So this is basically a brow gel that not only will set your brows in place, but will also fill them in, and fill them in very, very effectively. And because this is so nice and teeny tiny, you can get really precise with it. So it's not like it's gonna go everywhere, because you would think that a brow gel that's also used to fill in your brows will literally go all over your face, but it doesn't because it's so small. I know that Anastasia came out with this like dip brow gel thing that kind of was a similar idea. I liked that, but then I started not liking it because I found that it got really messy because the wand was too big. This solves the issue with the wand being just really nice and tiny. Now, the reason why I have two here is because I use two different shades. I have the shade Brunette and Ebony. Ebony is basically like an off black, and Brunette is a brown. The Brunette shade matches me perfectly. It's what I actually have in my brows right now. But on the days that I want to get a little bit crazy and I want something more intense in my brows, I actually use Ebony, which never have I ever used a black brow product because black just doesn't match with my hair. But it doesn't look weird. It doesn't look black on my eyebrows. It kind of just looks like a nice dark brown. Still matches my hair, but it just gives me more of like a bold brow look, which I love. So depending on my mood, I switch between the shades. Then I also have a brow pencil, which when I do use a brow pencil, I've been going towards this guy. This is the Marc Jacobs Brow Wow Duo. And I got the shade dark brown. So this is basically a dual-ended brow pencil. You have a tiny little pencil on one end and then a brow gel on the other. I love this for a couple different reasons. The first is the shade. Now, when it comes to a brow product, it's really important to get like your shade down right, because especially with a brow pencil or anything that you're using to fill in your brow, if the shade is off, it's just gonna look really obvious. And this matches me perfectly. And then we have the fact that there's a brow gel on the other end. I really love that. I love a good 2-in-1 product, especially two products that you almost always use one after the other. It's just so convenient to have it all in one place. And this brow gel is awesome. It is tinted, so it's going to give your brows a nice like thick look, especially after using it with the pencil. And it also like cements your brows into place. So it's like a good brow gel. And just overall, this is a fantastic, it's a really good brow product. So this may be a little bit controversial, but I actually did not choose an eyeshadow palette to include in this video. And that's because I honestly just don't have a favorite eyeshadow palette for the year. I just don't. And I know why it is. It's because I just haven't been doing anything, because I haven't been going out into the world, because obviously COVID. And I don't normally really wear that much eyeshadow day to day. Like I'll sometimes go in with like a matte brown to do a quick little sum, but nothing ever really crazy. I would only normally wear like full on eyeshadow looks when I would be like going out for dinner. What's that? I don't know. Going out to a bar. Bars? What's a bar? And so because I haven't been doing that over the last year, I just really haven't been wearing eyeshadow that much. And so I don't really have one that I am like obsessed with for the year, unfortunately. However, I have lip products here. Okay, first let's talk about the lip liners that I have here. M Cosmetics Soft Blur Velvet Lip Liners in Kitten and in Mink are the two nude lip liners that I've been going to the most ever since they came into my life. I just really love them. I really have been more so appreciating the softer lip line effect, not the like super, super harsh lip line effect. And I feel like these liners do a really good job in doing that. I mean, they literally are called the Soft Blur Velvet Lip Liners because I find that you're just very easily able to blend these out and just make a really nice soft line with them. The colors are also fantastic. I love these two neutral shades. They basically go with all of the neutral shades that I wear on my lips. That's all I really got to say about them, but they're awesome. Let's talk my favorite nude lipstick of the year. This came into my life only within the last couple months, so maybe I'm cheating a little bit, but it very, very quickly rose to the top, and so I don't really care. I'm gonna mention it anyway. It is this Revlon lipstick in the shade 006 Sparkling Honey. I'm gonna put it on for you. This is just the most perfect, slightly more cool tone neutral color. It kind of gives me slightly 90s vibes, but instead of being matte, it's this really, really beautiful, very hydrating, glossy finish. You can see my lips look so glossy, and that's with just this product. Obviously, you just saw me apply it, and that's why I love it. I mean, why else would you love a lipstick? Obviously, the color is beautiful, and the feel and finish of this lipstick is perfect, and I can't get enough of this nude. I've been wearing it non-stop. Then we have my favorite gloss of the year. If you can't guess this, then you're a fake fan. It is, of course, the Tower 28 gloss in the shade Cashew. It is the most perfect, like mid-tone nude gloss. Oh my God. Can't get enough. I want 50 of these in my life because I never want to ever live without this. So the Tower 28 glosses in and of themselves are perfection. They're not sticky at all. They're super lightweight. They almost feel gel-like. They're super comfy, and they give the most amazing gloss to the lips. So everything you could ever want in a gloss. They came out with like 5 neutral shades. I could be wrong with the amount. I'm not actually sure. But every single one of the neutral shades that they came out with were gorgeous, especially paired with their amazing formula. Can't ask for anything better. And then as I was, playing around with all the shades, Cashew graced my lips. And I looked at it and I said, "Where have you been all my life?" And it said, "I've been here all along, baby." Wrong with me. Then of course we have the Laneige Lip Glowy Balm in Gummy Bear. This is basically a very, very slightly tinted hydrating lip gloss. So this is not like a typical lip gloss. This does actually hydrate your lips, which is amazing. And this is probably my most worn day-to-day lip product. I have a bunch of different flavors in this guy because I love it so much, and they also smell incredible. Gummy Bear is my current favorite. It smells like grape soda. I don't even like grape soda, but I love this so much. Okay, I'm filming this on my phone because I already took down my entire setup, but as I was putting everything away, I realized that I didn't talk about a product. The Maybelline Lifter glosses. How could I even forget? These glosses really just shook up my world this year. I released this entire line with like a lot of nudes. I don't know exactly how many, but I feel like definitely above 10, if I had to guess. And every single one of the neutrals that they released are just so beautiful, and I feel like there really is something for everybody. And not only that, but the formula is fantastic. It is a gloss that has hyaluronic acid in it, so it is supposed to be a little bit more hydrating than your average gloss. And I kind of feel like it has a thicker consistency, and because of that, it really just makes your lips look nice and plump. Okay, so this color is one of my favorites. It's 008 Stone. It actually is kind of similar to Cashew. Beautiful. You see how it kind of like sits on top of the lips in a way, and it just gives that really nice plump look because of that. I don't think I forgot any other products. Let me know if I did. All right guys, that is it. Those are all of my favorite makeup products from 2020. I really hope that I'm not forgetting something. It's very likely that I'm forgetting one thing, and somebody's gonna say in the comment, "Oh my God, Jamie, what about blah, blah, blah?" And I'm gonna be like, no, I can't believe I forgot. But I'll be sure that if I actually do forget something, that I'll make up for it by mentioning it in the lifestyle favorites that I have coming up. Anyways, I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite products from 2020. I would love to hear them. I think it'd be super, super interesting to see what everybody loved. And by the way, don't forget to check out the down bar if you wanna enter the giveaway. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.